ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्तुते सप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Hare Krishna, nice to see you all. Welcome back. So we had completed chapter 14. Can somebody sum up all the points? You remember? Rashmi Mataji, were you there for the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please tell us what we had discussed in the last class.
Last class was about the three modes of material nature.
Hmm.
So, three modes are goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, living entity lives life based on association with three modes of nature. Guna, these are also called as gunas. Gunas means like rope. Mm, then, perfection of life is getting away from these material nature. Um, so there is something called Brahma, and Brahma is the spiritual sky all lit up. Ultimate immortality happens, happiness, uh, and then there is Mahatattva, which is like a dark cloud. It is inert matter. Then it has 24 elements. Then the Lord impregnates it with his divine vision. Then uh, the three gunas. So sattva gun is pure state of existence. Condition It is conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Um, People are in sattva guna more wiser than others. They are not affected by material misery, and then grief. Then they are attracted towards mode of goodness, natural tendency to attract knowledge. They have that tendency to attract knowledge. uh, and the criteria to get out of this mode of goodness is you should have no attraction to anything in the material world and no desire for any result. And material this guna results in happiness. Then mode of passion is desire of unlimited. It's like unlimited desire and longing. They become born to material desires, so they have unlimited work also, uh, because they keep on working to fulfill their desires. Then these include like attraction between men and women. Then they enjoy sense gratification. They want honor in society and good family, so they work hard for that. Then they please the society. They want to please the society. So modern world is in mode of passion. Then uh, it results in fruits of action. uh, then you told about story of Indra who turned into a pig, and he got entangled in that only. Then mode of ignorance is like madness, cannot understand what is God. They sleep a lot more than required. Then they're lazy, not interested in doing anything and in inculcating knowledge. And they just do work when we tell them. Then they cannot understand thing as it is. Like we know that death is sure, but still go on accumulating things, something like that. Then don't work forcefully. They work forcefully, lose all description. What is- they don't know what is good or bad for them. Um, then sleep for 10 to 12 hours. Then they are addicted to intoxication. They are always dejected and always grieve.
Mm-hmm.
So this mode of nature results in madness. Then um, how to defeat the goodness, and we have to defeat this mode of goodness and reach in Vasudeva state or Shuddha Tattva state. And its launching pad is Sattva Guna. So uh, then in Sattva Guna, all the nine gates are illuminated by state of goodness. So how do we come to know that a person is in Sattva Guna? Is all his nine gates are illuminated by state of goodness. Every gate has symptom of happiness because he has knowledge of self. So crit- so he does not entertain uh, so critic he does not entertain anyone's criticism or anything. um then when he dies in this state, he attains a pure high planet of sages, and develops goodness. Then
Yes, Mataji, almost everything you have summed up. Thank you so much. We will continue with today's class now. Thank you so much for recollecting after 2 days and summing up all the points. So, in short, we should have knowledge of all these three modes of material nature. If you are not aware of these things, you will make the wrong choices. So that is what is ignorance. So why this Jnana Yoga chapter now, from 13, chapter 13 to chapter 18, we are actually discussing Jnana Yoga. Technically, how we can, figure out ways accurately about, where we have to go. So for that, like suppose you don't have the route to a destination. Maybe you want to go somewhere, and you don't have a map. So what will happen? You will go, you will try one way, you are at the crossroad, you will go this way, then you'll go till the end of the road. Then you will know, oh, this is not my destination. Then again you will come back. Again you will go somewhere else. Again you like that. You will go on. And for many births we are doing that. So they say, then what is the right thing, If there is a signboard there which is with an arrow mark, go here. So Guru is like that arrow mark. Now, please have this discretion to know the person you are associating with or the food you are associating. This is going to have this influence on you, which will become the result of your act. resultant action, and that action may or may not have a reaction based on what choices you make. So that is why the three modes are so important. In fact, there are 700 shlokas in the entire Bhagavad Gita, and in almost 100 shlokas, these three modes of material nature are discussed because it is such an important topic. So we start with chapter number 15, the yoga of the Supreme Person. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Urdhvamulam Adhasakam Asvatha Pratur Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Parnani Yastar Veda Savedavid. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan that has its roots upward and its branches down, whose leaves are the Vedic hymns, and who knows this tree is the knower of Vedas. So now the Lord is explaining this entire spiritual and material world with the help of an example. They say that there is a banyan tree. Actually, it's an example, and it is also true, because our material mind, it cannot comprehend anything beyond what we see and what we hear and what we taste. Based on our gross senses, we make choices. So for us to perceive all this, to give more clarity, the Lord is now giving us this example. So the banyan tree of the material world is upside down. So now I will describe how the Lord is describing how these material and spiritual worlds are based, connected to each other. How they are connected, how they are disconnected also. So here the roots up and branches down. Now this is a very abnormal tree. It has its roots upward. Actually, in fact, if you all have Bhagavad Gita, the pictures are there, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, few chapters. You have a set of pictures given. I will show you if I have. So the tree is sketched out by our acharyas, how to understand where we are and what we are doing and where we have to go. So this is the guide. So this tree is upside down. It has its branches down and roots upward towards the sky. So why so? The Lord will explain now. I will show you the tree. You'll have a good idea about here. Here in my book, I think there's pictures, there's no page number. This here. So this is the spiritual sky where Lord Krishna resides. And this tree, can you see it is going downward? The root is here and the branches, the leaves, they're all heads down. And it has lot of roots. So again, they spring up. Banyan tree, so it has so many roots. And again, the roots, whenever they touch the ground, the new plants springs up. So it is like that, dense. The banyan tree is so dense and so bushy, one root connecting another, another root connecting another. Like that, a whole of it becomes a huge trunk because so many new plants keep coming up. So our activities also here are like that. So the Lord is describing this tree to us. The banyan tree of material world is upside down, roots up and branches down, because it only reflects reality. It means that the actual reality of this world does not exist here. It exists in the spiritual world. Just like, for example, if somebody is standing against the light, okay, the actual person is standing against the light and his reflection is falling on the ground. So the reflection is because of the light, that is Krishna. If there is no light, there is no question of reflection. The actual reality is the person in relation to the light, and his reflection is just a temporary, um, idea of actually what he is. So this entire material world, it is just like that reflection. As the branches of the real banyan tree produce offshoots that grow down into roots and further trunks, this reflected tree similarly has endlessly complicated, intertwined trunks and roots and branches. One can picture neither its beginning nor its end. A soul situated within the complexities of this incomprehensible tree remains trapped. So one activity leads to another activity, another root, another branch, one desire, another resultant reaction. Like that, there are so many, branches, and a person, he cannot even think where it has begun, where it has ended. So many births we've had, so many desires. Because of the desires, so many field of activities. I had explained to you what is the field of activity. As per our desire, we get the respective field of activity, sphere of activity. And based on that, we make choices. Our activities are all dovetailed by our desire in the past, and we desire for the future also. So a soul situated within this, all existences beyond the tree is forgotten. So here you are so entrapped, your mind is so engulfed in this banyan tree with your desire that the actual reality, your attention doesn't even know to inquire about the actual reality. So is the nature of the material world and three gunas. One desire mixed with another, like that, thousands of, in fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a chapter, Puranjay, the city of nine. This is a chapter, I don't remember the number though, in which again there is a picture like this, that when a person passes away from the city of nine gates, this body is like the city of nine gates. Through these nine gates, these nine openings, a person enjoys this material world. That great desire to enjoy is there without knowing the futile results of this sense gratification. So when a person leaves this body, he's followed by millions of, small, if there is a pictorial representation, like, dark people clothed walking along with him, up, following the soul, a big queue of thousands of small people, following. What are these people? There are millions of desires, not one, two, millions. In flash of a second, the mind can produce so many desires. Your mind can travel to America, to Australia, to moon planet within no time, because you are where your mind is. It's like that. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the word Asvatha can also be understood as follows. Swa, Avastha means tomorrow. Asva can thus mean not tomorrow. So here Asvatham Prahur Avyayam. This is the word used in the shloka. This Aivatam can be taken as that which does not exist tomorrow. So why so? Because the material world is temporary. Everything in this material world, it constantly keeps changing. There is nothing that, is um, uh, constant here. Everything keeps changing. That's why it doesn't exist tomorrow. Whatever you are seeing here today will not, you will yourself not be here. How much is the duration of one's life? Just like the timer is set. Dog 12 years, human being 70, 80 years. Nobody can cross that. So this is, no matter how much scientific advancements we make, these four problems, birth, death, old age, and disease, from here to whether any part of the earth, the timer is fixed for everyone. Not that you are Hindu, so the timer is not fixed. You are Muslims, not fixed. It's fixed. That is why Bhagavad Gita is not about just, it is not a fanatic religious work. It talks about our connection with nature, time, Prakriti, Kal, and Karma. 5 factors I had told you in the introduction. Both for the devotees and non-devotees. Not just that it is only devotees for whom there is no tomorrow. For both, there is no tomorrow here. It won't exist tomorrow for the devotees because they will become liberated tomorrow. So devotees who are purified, they are going to transcend this material realm. So for them, there is no tomorrow. And they are not fearful also. And attain spiritual world. The tree won't exist tomorrow for the non-devotees because everything they are attached to will cease to exist. Although their attachments will cease to exist tomorrow, the non-devotees' material existence is eternal, as indicated by word avyayam. So avyayam means unmanifest actually. Eternal. Not manifest because this material world, it manifests as per a desire. Again it goes back. Bhukta bhukta praliyate. The eternal reality is constant. It doesn't change. So that is what we must understand. The entanglement of this material world here is compared to a banyan tree. For one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. One desire, some 7, 8 roots have come out. Then one more desire, another 7, 8. Like that, they go on multiplying. Threefolds, no end. So for a person who wants sense gratification, there is no end to this material tree. And what is the process? You have to chop off this material tree and get rid of it. This is the purpose of reading Bhagavad Gita. That this tree, which has so many roots, these roots have to be cut off, because if we are connected to this tree, we cannot enter the spiritual realm. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. Some disturbance. Can everybody mute themselves, please? Yeah. So the tree of this material world has no end. For one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. So if you have this desire to enjoy this material world, even one desire is enough to keep you here. Even one desire. And one desire is going to associate you with these 3 modes of material nature. Once you are in the material world, you can either associate with tamogun, you can either associate with rajogun, or you can either associate with sattvagun. The influence of the 3 modes cannot be avoided in the material world until you engage in the Lord's service. So, If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. So we are not supposed to, make plans to live on branches of this tree, temporary reflection, which everybody does here. Based on our desires, we make plans. So the process of extrication should be understood. It has to be excluded from our existence. See, we are born with a certain concept of life. In fact, you see, religion, one definition which is given is a way of life. So this conceptualization stage is the cause of our entanglement. We conceptualize a lot of things in our own under the influence of these three modes, and according to that we decide what is correct and wrong, or perfection, imperfection. All our relative perfections are based on our conditioning, whereas the truth is that the reality exists somewhere else which we don't have any knowledge about. So how will we develop the desire to get back to that reality? By knowing about it. So that is why the Lord is explaining that eternal reality to Arjuna. So entanglement, and up to the 13th chapter we have seen that devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the best. Only as long as you are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, which is not in one of these three gunas, because service comes only after selflessness. Selflessness comes only when you transcend the effect of these three gunas. The whole process is to become selfless, no selfish desires. No, na anya. The condition given by the Lord is that na anya. Except me, no other desire. This is the condition to transcend. Get out of this fearful banyan tree. Now, the basic principle of devotional service is detachment from the material activities and attachment to the transcendental service of the Lord. So naturally, till we become naturally inclined to serve, this tree is not going to leave us. We will be trapped here. The problem here is that why is there so much confusion in the society also? So many things happening, people are unhappy. So much sense gratification is there today. You have television, you have internet. Earlier people wouldn't have this exposure also. Still people are unhappy. Why? Because it's something like, you have diabetes and you need insulin, but somebody is giving you more sugar. What will happen? Will the disease be cured? Lack of knowledge. One, what you need to take. Till you take that medicine, things will not change. So you're going on taking more sugar to enjoy, but the actual purpose is here. The process of breaking attachment to the material world is discussed in the beginning of this chapter. So how do we do that? Shloka number 2. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. So what is the food for this tree? The three modes of material nature. Karana Gunna Sangasya. So all these desires are because of our association with these three modes. You have to keep away from these three modes. Maya, it is so strong that, it ties you down. with these three ropes. You don't even know the whole life you have spent, and you don't even know what is, the cause of your misery. Depending upon which branch a living entity is located, he will possess a certain type of material body and a specific type of senses. And according to the combination of the mode that influences that part of the tree, he will be attracted to particular twigs. So, based on our past desires, we will get certain type of senses. Like if you see the tree, which is upside down, the lower, that is the highest part of this tree, the head, it is the lower species of life. All the twigs and the twigs here are the sense objects. So you will acquire a certain body because you've had a certain desire to enjoy. Suppose you have desired to be in water, you will get the body of a fish. Body of a fish being of lower intellect will come in the lower part of the tree. And based on the senses you have acquired, your attraction and aversion to things around you will change. What you like, what you don't like depends on the senses. And how are these senses formed? Because of our desire. How are our desires molded? Because of the association with three modes of material nature. And these three modes have particular qualities you will acquire. And these twigs are the sense objects. And we acquire this certain type of body, we will be attracted, like the pig is attracted to filth. So that is because of its field of activity. Thus, the living entity traveling from one bird to the next, from higher branches of demigod life to lower branches of animal life, seeks pleasure. Because the soul by nature is pleasure seeking, but in fact attains only further entrapment in fruitive action and future death. Milani anusatani karmanu bandhini. That is what is the word used here, the Lord uses. 3 and 4 together, the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. So the Lord is giving the solution also. So what should be inculcated? Detachment. You are here, but you are not attached. You are here in this tree, but you are not attached to any of the fruits. You are not desiring anything. Whatever is there, you are utilizing it in service of Lord. All the fruits here. This is the only way actually. So all these yogics, what are they trying to do? They are nirvana, cessation of material activities. You have to stop working for your own desire. You have to work for the Lord's desire, because the actual doer is the person who desires. So if you are working for the Lord's desire, He is responsible, not you. Now suppose there is a dacoit. He desires to loot a bank and you work for him. So even if you get caught, the person for whom you are working, he is responsible. Maybe you are just providing lunch to that person, not actually involved in the whole robbery, but you are providing food to that person. You are the caterer, okay? But if somebody is caught, are they going to arrest the caterer who is providing food to this thief? No, because the thief is responsible. He desired to loot the bank, not the caterer who is giving food to him. So that is why when the Lord desires, You are not responsible. You are not responsible. He is taking your responsibility. But when you desire for yourself, who is taking responsibility? You are yourself responsible. Lord is not responsible. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that philosophers have their own opinion about the nature of the world. The world is real, it is false, it is eternal, and so on. There are so many ways. It's not that the shadow is not there, it is there. You can see, you can perceive, but it's temporary. Its conditions are dependent on the light and the person also. Because the real form of this tree cannot be perceived, are we unable, out of our ignorance, to cut down the banyan tree of this material world? There's a question here. If you don't know about this tree, you don't know about the other reality, can you cut down this tree? You can't. So here, it is now clearly stated that the real form of this banyan tree cannot be understood in the material world. Since the root is upward, the extension of the real tree is other end. When we are entangled with material expansions of the tree, one cannot see how far the tree extends, nor can we see the beginning of this tree. Yet one has to find out the cause. So how will you get out of this tree? First, locate the root. So Arjuna is at the gross level, he is grieved that all my relatives I have to kill. So here you have to come to the cause. Why you are here? What is the cause of all these miseries? Yet one has to find the cause, one has to search out that origin of this tree, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this tree is like springing from the feet of the Lord into the material world. It's like the reflection of our existence in the spiritual world. Then by understanding, one becomes gradually detached from the false reflection of reality. And by knowledge, one can cut off the connection and actually become situated in the real truth. So why we are getting the fruits of our action? Because we are attached. Like I gave you the example, somebody tells you your house is on fire, you will be like paranoid. But you have just registered that house 5 minutes ago to somebody, you sold it and you have taken money. After that 5 minutes, if somebody and comes tell you your house is on fire which you sold, will you be affected? It's not mine. The problem comes when we consider things mine, ours, we have attachment with those, then we get disturbed. If the neighbors, somebody in the neighbor's family is dying of cancer, we will be grieved, not so much. But if somebody in our own family is dying of cancer, will we be in the same state? No, we will be so worried because we are attached. So the problem of our grief is not that there are miseries, it is because we are attached. So one has to remove this attachment from the material world and transfer that attachment to the spiritual world. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with the material lust, who are freed from dualities of happiness and distress, and who are unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So what are the qualifications? Those who are free from false prestige. False prestige, uh, you see, in the subtle mind, there are three enemies we have. Our longing for these three things causes us to, acquire prestige and so in society. They are puja, la, pratishtha, adulation by others, la, profit, and pratishtha is fame, pratishtha or prestige. So a person actually broadly, if he is free from this, who does not want credit, adulation, who does not want any profit, who does not even want to be famous, he is working just for pleasing the Lord. He is eligible. But it is broadly said here, those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association. False association is association of these three gunas. Who understands the eternal, who are done with the material lust, who are freed from dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So this is the qualification. So the first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. So pride makes us demand respect from others. I am this, so everybody should respect me. Prestige. So because the conditioned soul is so puffed up, thinking himself the lord of the material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender to that. You have to forego that you are important. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that, we should be humbler than blade of grass. Somebody tells us something, two times stop, we have to react. We react, get angry, we give a response. But here the condition is that see everything externally. Somebody, Srila Prabhupada, once he was lecturing, it was quite a big crowd there in Pandal, and one person and he came and abused Srila Prabhupada outright in front of the entire public. And the devotees, they were very angry and they were getting up like puffing and in their chairs. But Srila Prabhupada said no. He gave them a signal. No. He said whatever he had to say, and this person went away. Srila Prabhupada did not utter a word. And when he stopped, he got tired of speaking. Srila Prabhupada, again with the same tempo, he continued his class. After the class, the devotees asked him, that person abused you, Srila Prabhupada. There was a huge, thousands of people were there in the pandal. You didn't tell him anything. Srila Prabhupada said, see, that person maybe in the past I must have hurt him. So he had come to settle accounts. What's the point I reacting to him? I will create more karma. So it's okay, doesn't matter. My inner soul is not affected by, somebody's glorification or anybody abusing me. My business is to serve the Lord. And I'm not desiring this adulation, criticism, or praise for my work. So, with perfect knowledge and perfect understanding, a person will not react like a conditioned, attached person. He will be detached. Though he is in the material world, he will be detached. So one should know by cultivation of real knowledge that he is not the Lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin to the process of surrender. How does it begin? You forego your pride. It's okay. Somebody is not nice to me. It's okay. My business is not to get somebody to glorify me or criticize me. My business is to serve the Lord. So many people will come in the because they will be opinionated about you because of their conditioning with the three modes of materials. Everybody is conditioned. Nobody can escape the three modes unless and until he is engaged in service. So one has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of the world. So everything belongs to God. We are here for a few years and we will go. And when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge. Then it is possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna now answers two questions. What is the nature of the place that a detached surrender person will attain? If one goes there, does he come back? So now uh, Arjuna had asked these questions and the Lord is answering these two questions. 6. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. न भासायते सूर्यो न शशांको न पावका यद गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धामम परमम ममा. So now the Lord is telling Arjuna about his spiritual abode. So Krishna gives a brief description of the spiritual world. He's telling you don't need a sun there or moon there for light. It is self-lit. Here in the material world, it is dark when sun is not there. We can see only if light is there. Conditions apply. There is no such dependence. Everything is self-lit, bright always. So, because if we are not, we will tend to be enamored with the objects of sense enjoyment and will endlessly transfer from one field of activity to another, jumping from branch to branch in the cycle of samsara. So because if we don't know about the spiritual realm, we don't know about the actual reality, we will always get attracted to this temporary banyan tree and keep jumping from one branch to another based on the field of our activity. This tree is endless. So many desires, so many field of activities you will get, so many bodies. 7. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to their conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Very, very important shloka. 7. ममावांशो जीवलोके जीवभूत सनातना मनसस्थानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. So these living entities that you see around you, actually they are my part and parcels. But why they are struggling so hard? Because they have made a choice to enjoy independently from me. When they come in the material world with their, mana shasthani indriyani, mana, mind, shasthani indriyani, the six senses, prakriti sthani karsati. So they are struggling very hard with their senses, 5 gross senses and the mind, shasthani indriyani. So in this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Eternally, it is not that he assumes individuality in his conditioned life and in his liberated state becomes one with the Lord. He is eternally fragmented. It is clearly said. So this existence of our Atma is in relation to God. In our liberated state, we know our true identity as a servitor of the Lord. That is true ego. But when we, want to desire independently, we are identifying with the false ego because it's not true. Our position in relation to God is to serve Him. But when we are not accepting that, we are falsely identifying. That is false ego. So you have to get rid of this false ego and come to your constitutional position. Right. So the supreme abode, so the living entity in this conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind, the five gross senses, and the mind. And the mind, see, the business of the mind is to accept and reject. That is the only independence we have. That is the only choice we have here. Accepting or rejecting. We can either accept what the Lord is saying, or we can, for millions of words, accept what we speculate. So that is the only choice. Just as Krishna is eternal, Krishna's fragmental eternal parts, the living entities are also eternal. So qualitatively, all the living entities are Satchidanand. But because of this contamination of the senses, the five gross senses, they are like uh, uh, contaminated because of their association with the material nature. The living entities have to struggle very hard here just to uh, satisfy these senses. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another. One concept is fish, one concept is dog, one concept is cow, one concept is human being. And all these are based on our desires. The desires are based on what we are influenced with, what has been our association. That is the criteria for all our relative perfections, which are the concepts of our different types of lives. So just as the living entity in the material world carries these different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So, just like fragrance is carried when you are passing through, the air is passing through a beautiful garden of rose. After it has crossed the garden, also, it is carrying that fragrance forward in the air. That fragrance is the element of all the flowers. Like that, our soul or our subtle senses, mind, intelligence, and false ego, they carry all our desired concepts of life to the other body. So we develop a concept of like, now people have developed now a concept, a materialistic concept. If you don't have a car, you don't have a house, you don't go out like this, you don't wear certain kind of clothes, you are not happy. Actually, happiness has got nothing to do with it. But you have made that concept because you have seen advertisements in the TV. You be like this, you will be happy. You be, so these are all external influences which condition us. And we form concepts. And these concepts become our reality as a body, another field of activity. The living entity thus takes another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Because of his conditioning, he will get those, he will be attracted naturally to such kind of sense objects. Our particular body, its eyes, ears, tongue, and nose, and all else is formed around our mind's desires. If we desire to fly, to hang glide, for example, we undergo the tribulation of artificially attaching ourselves to wings. If our life's pleasure is scuba diving, why go to the trouble of having to resurface to fill our air tanks? It's easier to become a fish. So God arranges. He's so merciful. Okay, you are desiring, I will arrange. He tells material nature, give him a body where he enjoys this. Very merciful. And it goes on the cycle. You go on desiring, you go on endlessly. 10. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So, a self realized person, when he sees a dog, he immediately understands what have been the desire of the soul in the past. Why he a form like this, like this. You know, he is trapped in a miserable condition. Can be free. Very pathetic condition because of the desires they've acquired a certain body. So a devotee understands all this and he thinks how I can, benefit this person by relieving him of this state of existence. 11. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self realization can see all this clearly. People who are in knowledge of the self, they know why this person. Now, suppose you are a doctor. You are not a doctor just like that. Either you have desired to be a doctor, or maybe somebody around you, your father had, he desired that you be a doctor. So whatever is the present is because of somebody's desire. That understanding the transcendentalists have because they're in knowledge. Pure-hearted spiritualists see that the soul transmigrates. The blind who lack knowledge see nothing. Even one without knowledge, however, can see Krishna in his opulent manifestations in matter and become attracted to him. So, what we are attracted to is based on our conditioning. So the best way is to transfer our attraction to Krishna. That is why you see in temples the deities are so wonderfully decorated. A person like a person who is not in knowledge also, he immediately gets attracted. And the whole purpose of the Vedas, all the scriptures is that you get attracted to that spiritual form. Only when you think about it, when you desire to be with it, you will be there. If you don't develop that desire, you will be here trapped in this material world only. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me. The light which the sun is giving also comes from me. The moon also comes from me. The splendor of the world, whatever you see, all the opulences, they're all supplied by me. I enter into each planet and by my energy, they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all the vegetables. So how the moonlight, you see, they say, because of the moonlight, the rust in vegetables and fruit comes. If there is no moonlight, there will be no juice in vegetables. So with the light, you know that moonlight controls the tide of the sea also. It has influence on our bodies. So even the planets which are, we think they are hung up in the air, in their orbit. All that is happening because of me. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest four kinds of foodstuff. So the Lord is saying that I am the fire of digestion. They say, as per Ayurveda, you need fire to digest food. If there is no heat in your body, the food will not get digested. And the heat is created, and God is that heat. Even without our knowledge, He is helping us out in this process of digestion, blood, how the heart is pumping day in, day out, how our eyes are blinking. Who is responsible for these complicated, sophisticated systems? Lord is saying, I am. The potency of vegetables, so essential for strength, health, and pleasures of our palate, is supplied by Krishna. Yet, even eating causes misery without the fire of digestion, which also comes from Krishna. Again, we are fully dependent on Krishna as our maintainer. For everything, we are dependent on Him, but we think we are independent. 15. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Just see. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Very, very important shloka of this chapter. If someone understands this shloka number 15, he has understood the entire Vedas. So here 15 we will recite is Sarvasya chaham hridi sannavishto matasmriti jnanam apohanam cha vedasya sarve ahameva vedyo vedantakrid veda vid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of Vedas. So clearly, the Lord is saying that this entire existence of us in the material world, the Vedas give us knowledge of everything. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. All this study and work. So Krishna serves each and every living entity from within his heart by activating remembrance, knowledge, and for how will we get? How do we know that from where our intelligence? We have Paramatma seated in our heart. You see, many a times we are doing some work and there is a voice coming from inside saying, don't do, don't do, don't do. Paramatma tries to guide us. The problem is we mute him. We don't listen to our conscience. So, if one were to remember each occurrence, especially the miseries experienced throughout his unlimited births, he would be unable to function. So, Lord makes it possible for us to forget the past, move on, because if we, how much we have suffered, not just this birth, millions of births we've had. If we remember everything, we will go mad. Our capacity is too small. So he makes us forget everything in the previous birth, start afresh, gives us an opportunity. Okay, if you forget that, then your concept might change, at least in this birth. Go on contemplating your miseries, more miseries will come. Thus, Krishna serves each and every living entity within his heart by activating remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Srila Prabhupada describes in his purport, the Vedas give us direction by which to understand Krishna and the process of realizing him. The ultimate goal is Supreme Personality of Godhead. By understanding Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what is the purpose of the Vedas? Uh, Ravana was Chaturvedi, but he failed because he didn't understand the crux of Vedas. He knew this has to be done, to do this puja, this desire will be fulfilled. There are so many sections in the Vedas. There is one Gyan Kand, Upasana Kand, Karma Kand, this, that, so many kands are there. And do everything, we do all the rituals, but we don't understand who Krishna is, which is the purpose of Vedas. It is a big zero. So what happened to Ravana? He read Chatur Vedas, everything he read, but he could not get the essence. Lord came in front of him and he did not understand. The ultimate goal is Supreme Personality of Godhead. By understanding the Vedic literature, one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach him, and at the end, one can attain the supreme goal, who is no other than Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the purpose of all the Vedas is to get out of this tree and go to the spiritual realm. 16. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. So what is the meaning of fallible? Fallible matlab fallen. Fallen from what? From their actual constitutional position. It's got corrupted. So we are fallible beings because we have actually fallen down from our original constitutional position of serving the Lord. And in liberated state, we are infallible. We understand our relationship in connection with God, and we work accordingly. So he says that living entities who are innumerable can be divided into two classes, the fallible and infallible. The living entities are eternally separated part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhuta, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. And the Sanskrit word given here is Shara Sarvani Bhutani. 16, you can see the translation. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Very clear. 17. Beside these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. In so many shlokas in this chapter, the Lord has again and again clarified Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. 16. This shloka we must read. Actually, this is the three Gita. These three shlokas, three Gita starts here. Crux of Gita. So 17. So beside these separated part and parcel is the Supreme Soul, Supreme Consciousness, that is Lord Krishna Himself. He says of this, because I am transcendental beyond both fallible and infallible. Here he is saying that even in the liberated stage, a living entity, I am higher than that also. So now you are in the conditioned state, bound by the ropes of Triguna. When you get liberated also, after liberation also, It is me whom you have to serve. I'm above. I am transcendental, beyond both fallible and the infallible. And because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as the Supreme Person. So many a times you say, oh, Lord is saying himself is God. Who is going to believe it? It's something like, suppose there is a prime minister, or suppose there is a CEO of a company, and you go and meet him and you ask him, what is your position? What are you working as? What will he say? He will say, I'm the CEO of this and this company, and that is how I work. So if somebody is going to come and ask God, uh, what is your position? Lord is specifying, this is my position. Now, if somebody accepts it or does not accept it, will not change the position of God. Our accepting or not accepting is our headache, not his. 19. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He is therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So how will you engage in the service of Lord when you don't know who he is? When you come to know how great he is, then humility will develop in you. Pride will go away. Your pride will be broken. Then you will know what is my actual position. And I'm acting so funny. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one. It is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So why the Lord is saying one who knows Krishna as the Supreme serves him with devotion, which awards both wisdom and perfection. What happens to one who doesn't serve Krishna? Now somebody might ask, what will happen to a person who doesn't serve Krishna? However, an intelligent man, he may be in estimation of some common man, he is not perfectly intelligent. So because he may have some material qualifications, but he does not know this process of our entanglement, so he should be considered foolish only. Because maybe he will may be very intelligent by material estimations. He is educated, he has a degree, he has lot of money, but if he doesn't know this reality, what will happen? Endlessly he will be involved in cycle of birth and death, one branch to another, that's all. While one is performing devotional service in association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of Krishna. The second weakness of heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over the material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problem of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. The Lord is explaining why, what is the cause. One, the desire to lord it separately from the Lord, and then after that getting attached to what you desire is the cause of our ruination. So we have to get out of that. So this chapter actually ends here as stated. So this is a very short chapter, but it tells you about the purpose of the life and how to do it, what you have to do. we have to gradually detach from the material plane and attach ourselves to the spiritual plane. So our exposure, our association will do most. That is why in the last stanza, Srila Prabhupada says, performing devotional service in association of pure devotees. Satsang. Pure, the association of people who know about God is very important. Without this association, you will never be able to taste the happiness derived in devotional service. If you ask a materialist, he will tell you, you're wasting your time. But they don't know the actual reality of this world. So we come to the end of this chapter. We have quite a lot of time for questions today. So any questions or comments?
Ma'am, my question was we are telling we have to work for what God desires. So how do we know what God desires?
Maataji, at the primary level, the Varnashrama Dharma is the parameter. At our stage, we should understand, because the Varnashrama Dharma is designed by God. That is what he's telling Arjuna also. How will you know? Your inclinations, based on our inclinations now, for example, what are our likes and dislikes, So which Varna we belong to? Like we have Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras. Some disturbance here.
Ma'am, you are on mute.
Can you hear me, Mataji?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So now even Arjuna, that is what he's saying. Till you come to the level of just, inclination to my service, you follow Varnashrama Dharma. Till you come there. If you have come to that inclination that now in my life I will only serve the Lord, nothing else, Ananya, then you can give up your Varnashrama Dharma. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So that we have to follow that till we come to purify to the extent that we can now give 24/7. Sannyas actually means, so there are 4 ashramas. There are 4 varnas, 4 ashramas, which I have already explained to you. So the 4 varnas are Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahman. Based on our inclination, not by birth. If somebody is, highly spiritual in Sattva Gun, purely in Sattva Gun, his habits, his living, he is a Brahmana. Like we see many people, they're naturally inclined to purity. So he is a Brahmana. Then you have Kshatriya, somebody, who has influence of Sattva Gun and Rajogun both. He is in his living habits, his lifestyle. He has this fighting spirit to protect the cause of dharma, cause of Lord. He is a Kshatriya. If somebody is business minded, again, effect of Rajogun, Tamogun, both. in Vaishyas. Again, you see the influence of the three modes is there on his activities. Then he should engage in work like business, cow protection, all these. And if somebody is a Shudra, his inclinations are purely in ignorance, eating, sleeping, fearing, mating, then he's classified. You can recognize him as a Shudra. His habits are unclean. They will not bathe. They will not, they'll be lazy. They'll cut short everything. Everything, especially no time for this, no time for they'll not maintain either physical hygiene or internal hygiene. They're Shudras. Likewise, we have the four ashramas. 1/4 of your life is brahmacharya, when you spend gaining knowledge to lead a life in this world by ethical means. You gain knowledge of the self also. In brief, like Gurukulas were there. And at this stage, you have to keep away from sense gratification. If you don't keep, like today, the children, at very early life also, they are exposed to so much sense gratification. And they form their concept based on this exposure. The concept of life will change. They will develop a certain concept of life because of their association. That will become their destiny. And today we don't even monitor it. Every child has a phone. What not is there on internet today? What concepts these children are going to form? Then you have the Grhastha ashram. Grhastha ashram means to produce progeny. You have to actually, Grhastha means a person who lives with a woman. Like Prabhupada explained, no, I am a sannyasi. Don't I live in a house? People misunderstand. Grhastha means living in a house, otherwise you live in the jungle. No. Grhastha means living with a woman, associating with a woman, taking services from a woman. It can be your mother, it can be your wife. Basically, in Grhastha, it is wife, but living with a woman. The mother will also come because there is Grhastha. Sister will come because of this Grhasthashram only. All these relationships. And the primary responsibility of the Grhasthas is to maintain the other three ashrams. The Brahmacharis, the Vanaprasth and the Sannyasis. They have to be funded by the Grhasthas. And if somebody is running away from that responsibility, he will become an offender to the system of God. Because we are indebted. When we get into this regulated sense gratification of marriage, Grhasthashram, we should shoulder the responsibility along with that. Otherwise, it will become the cause of our bondage. If you think that it is just a license to enjoy marriage, then it will have lot of reactions. You have to shoulder responsibility of the other three ashrams. Then you have Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha is gradual detachment from the material world. Slowly sometimes you are in the family life, you cannot abruptly leave your house and go away into the forest. You have from brahmachari, you come to grasthashram. From brahmachari, you can directly come to sannyas also. But unnaturally, everybody cannot do it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I think at 28, he left his home. Sannyasi too. Without getting disturbed. Very beautiful young wife he had. Normally people get disturbed. Life partner not there, they start drinking, commit suicide, God knows, they get disturbed. So this disturbance always comes when you lack knowledge. Then Vanaprasth, you have to start inquiring, read scriptures. That is what is advised. Devote more time to understand about the self. Okay, you wanted to enjoy. You have enjoyed yourself, everything in your grahastha ashram. Now you devote time. So a person, you see, he's satiated in his desires in grahastha. He's had his share of, enjoyment and sorrows. All everything he has finished. Now at least you. So gradually he must increase his time in devotion and reduce it in the household affairs. Hand it over to the coming generation and then go around, gain knowledge, give knowledge. That is what Vanaprastha should do. So people in the age group of 50 and 75, they take up a lot of community work, especially related to spirituality. They take responsibility in temples, prasadam distribution, annadanam. Increase these till your inclination, sannyas, sat, nyasa. Sat means the truth, absolutes, God, and nyasat, leave everything to serve God. That is sannyasa. Not that you have gone to forest. Are you now inclined? Are you ready to serve the Lord 100% now? Leave everything, your family, children, wife, all these temporary relationships. Can you stop now serving for your own desire? Are you ready to serve the Lord 100%? Like that, we can analyze how far have we come spiritually. Are we ready? Are we attached? How much are we attached? This is the parameter, the varnashram. Till you come to that sannyasa stage, you have to continue the system, not otherwise. If you have come to the stage where you are 100% inclined naturally only to serve the Lord, you need not follow varnashrama dharma. It is not for that person. A person who is 100% engaged in serving the Lord, he doesn't even have the interest towards anything else. That is why they said, no, he has exhausted all mental speculation and he has accepted Lord as Vasudevam Sarvamitim Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. If a person has come to stage, he need not follow any systems. Sarva dharmam parityage mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvaham sarva papebhyo mokshasisyami ma sucha. 18.66, I think this is. Last, 18.66. He leaves sarva dharman parityaga. Leave all varieties of religion. The purpose of Vedas is that just surrender unto me. Work for my desire, my cause. That is dharma, true dharma. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. I will nullify all sinful reactions for you, for that person. Mokshisyami ma sucha. I'm promising. You work for my desire, I will nullify all this whole banyan tree, I will chop up. Just surrender to me. Work for my cause. I will take your responsibility. The Lord is promising you. So that is how we must understand, Mataji, in our lives, what we have to do. I hope that answers your question, Mataji.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any more questions? Your realizations from past 2-3 chapters, what we have done, very interesting chapters. Archana Mataji is not here today. She's there, Archana Mataji.
I am here, Maataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Any realizations from your end?
Yes, Maataji. I'll share them. So I actually like the story that you narrated about Indra. From that also you gave us a moral, right? Like conditioning does this to us. Like uh, sometimes that that might be not the actual problem, but our mind is so conditioned that like suppose I'll give an example. Like so I've read somewhere that in any uh, women are not more ready to take up leadership roles in any corporates or in any organization. So it's I thought when I was a normal employee, when I started my career, I was just thinking, okay, this must be true. So I didn't put more my efforts into leadership because taking up leadership roles, because I was always thinking that maybe women are not capable of taking these roles. So our minds, like not only me, I spoke to many of my friends, many of my female colleagues also, and our minds are seriously conditioned in that way. It's not actually true. Like now I work for a company where the CEO is a woman. So it's not like that. It all depends on our conditioning. If we tell our mind that no, this women are not actually fit for leadership roles, so our mind actually acts according to our conditioning only. So like every time I want to take up any role which is of leadership, it tells me that no, you're not fit for this, you don't go for this. So it all depends on conditioning. So I
Yeah,
really like this.
even our targets, like some person, that is why they say work for God, it is unending. So like, they'll set up a target. When I have a flat, when I have a car, you are restricting your mind. The mind has no limits. The soul, just like the Lord, unending, limitless pleasure. When you engage in Lord's service, you can become a Kshatriya when required, you can become a Brahmana, you can become anything as a tool, as long as what you are doing is benefiting Lord's cause.
Right.
So this theory of positive thinking, negative thinking is very much in fashion actually. But this tree, the banyan tree, is actual positive and negative. The reverse tree is all negative. The positive is above that. That's all. Whatever takes you there, those activities are actually positive. I don't know, I some book was there or somebody told me. They said if you go on thinking about a car, no, it will come. That is positive thinking. Just go on
Yes.
thinking about it. That is a big fashion today. So people, they don't understand Shastra. Positive thinking is, are you getting out of this entanglement or not? If you have acquired a car, you have acquired a CEO position, everything, but you are ultimately not progressing towards the ultimate goal. We are not talking about relative goals in life. Then it is a big zero. You are a CEO of a company, you are doing your work, you are studying the Shastra, you are employing your earning in the service of Lord, very good. But if you are the CEO of a company and you're using that money for sense gratification, your or your family's, and not guiding the people dependent on you, towards the ultimate goal, just like Ravana, he had a golden city, but everything became zero. So one must understand why we are working. Everything can be performed as a service to the Lord. Everything. But how you are going to dovetail as service to Lord, that is intelligence. That is true intelligence. The rest is all temporary. It will end here. Our position, our education, our money, our beauty, our fame. One fine day you will see that this person is no more. who will come to his, a very interesting story about this, that man, you know, he has 4 wives, and he is not well, so the Yamadutas come to take him, and he can see the Yamadutas. And he tells his wife, see, I can see the Yamadutas. I am going. So he tells the 4th wife is very young and beautiful. He's very fond of the younger wife, you see. So he tells the wife, will you come with me? You come with me. So the wife says, Are, me? As soon as you go, you know, I am going to go away with somebody else. He's shocked. Then he goes to the 2nd wife. And the 2nd wife, she tells him, I will come till with you only till the crematorium. That's all. After that, I am not going to be with you. Then he goes to the 3rd wife. And she says, uh, I think she says, I am going to come with you only till the house. That's all. Then the 4th wife, you know, oldest one, he's always neglected. He goes to the 4th wife and he asks, will you come with me? She says, yes, I will come with you. So the first wife we have is our money and property. As soon as we are dead, it goes off to somebody else. She's the youngest wife. The 2nd wife is, you know, our relatives and friends, which we consider so much our own. They come only till the crematorium. As soon as you are laid on the pyre and the pyre is lit, gone. All relationship broken. The 3rd wife is our own body. It is there only till the house, actually. In fact, not even the house. The body, it leaves you. The 3rd wife is our consciousness. It comes with us. But we neglect that area of our life. That is the only thing we take from this world. So the most intelligent will maintain this oldest wife, 4th wife. And the others will maintain the 4th wife. Money, property, education. So one has to be intelligent about enough to see knowledge, how he is making choices in life. It can be any situation, how he is engaging. If you are working very hard but not finding time for your self-realization, then you are only taking care of the 4th wife. The 1st wife will be neglected. And the 1st wife should not be neglected because she is going to accompany you. So we must make choices like that, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Satyanand Sao Prabhuji wants to say something, I think.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
As you said, one, like in the beginning, a bachelor will think about a girl and getting married, then they will think about having a car, property, and many other steps, correct? So as you said, this is real fact. People will be not going toward the spiritual growth, but they will be going towards the material growth in the form of money and property. Once we start learning what is spiritual path and spiritual growth, based on my experience, Lord will always drive towards the positive thought process or positive mind. What needs to be done, like I just said in the discussion somewhere about the suicide. A person was loving some girl or boy, or he or she did the suicide because he left her for him. Each person on this path will never ever it will come to his mind of about suicide. Suicide will never come. He will think, okay, one is gone. I am on the path of spiritual. Lord is there. Lord will help me. Lord will give me some better than Even if that material need is there, Lord will serve that. But if he or she is not on the spiritual path, then again that kind of thing will come, and the person might go into the negativity or maybe into positivity, depends on his surrounding. But if Lord is there in the mind and spiritual path is there, even if surrounding is negative, full of negative, there will be positive mindset. That is what my understanding and my experience. But I have felt throughout my life till today, whenever we have our Lord's name in the mind, even if it is let's say Rama or Krishna or maybe Hanuman, whoever it is, if we are having it is in our mind, they will always drive us towards the positivity rather getting into any kind of negative. Maybe some moment of time when we are silent, sitting alone, something will come to our mind, but after some period of time it will go away from our mind by remembering the name of Lord. As Archana Mataji said about becoming the growth of the mindset, about the mindset, well, they don't have that mindset. But what I have seen around me, my friends, they always think about, okay, now I am having a baby, and I will be, I will not be able to take too much of work in office because I might need to stay long, I might need to work hard, I will not be able to support my baby, and they think so many things. So that is what they are controlling their mind by thinking too many things. But rather thinking these too many things, if they think about the Lord and think about the spiritual path, they will get this much of energy. They'll be able to do everything in very few in the 24 hours, where there will nothing hindrance will come. That was my observation, and I have seen that. And I have seen a period will come where when you have lots of work in that particular day, people will not be able to realize how it got solved. Automatically, this will get solved. Automatically, all the work will get solved, and there will be even if the person will not feel tired. At the end of the work, he will be full of energy. Yeah, I can do more. That thing will come to mind. That is what my experience. I want to just pass this information. So,
Yes, yes, Prabhu, you are very right. Once we are on the transcendental path, from where the energy will come, you don't know. Like sometimes I get up in the morning, it's around 4:15, 4:30, and then people say, you go to temple? Yes, I go. Do you finish your 16 rounds? Yes, 16 rounds I finish. You do ghar ka kaam? Yes, I do. You go to your husband? Yes, I do. You handle your own business? Yes, I do. Your children? Yes, I take them to tuition. So you are so focused, and somehow the energy comes to do everything better. It's God's mercy. Definitely, I also agree to that. So one must, at no
Yes,
cost,
ma'am.
detach from God, no matter how busy you are. First this, then something else later. When you put God in that order, that then you become Ananya Bhakta, then God starts saying, oh, this person is always doing my thing first, later she's doing the other things. So let me guide her, he will come. And it's not that devotees don't they have brilliant performance even in the material world, but they don't compromise on the spiritual front, because that is the priority, and person in knowledge will understand that. So that is how it is. So thank you all. And another important announcement I would want to make, that we at ISKCON Kukatpalli are going to have our annual Rath Yatra on 1st of July. And all those who are in Hyderabad or even outside, they can come and join. Free accommodation and prasadam will be arranged. So if you desire to visit Hyderabad, ISKCON Kukatpalli, and attend our yatra, please let us know so that we can arrange for your accommodation accordingly. So thank you all so much for this session. Any more addition?
Ma'am, I had one question. We have to know Shastras. So what exactly should we read? Shastras means?
First of all, Bhagavad Gita, Mataji. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavad Gita teaches one how to live, how to make choices. And Srimad Bhagavatam prepares you for your death. Because your death is the ultimate exam. Because at that point of time, whatever your state of mind is, you will create another field of activity. That is the result. So you want to pass there, your next field of activity should not be a material body. It should be a spiritual one, liberated state. So, and one must hear it from devotees of the Lord, pure devotees of the Lord, because other people know they are going to contaminate it by their own personal views. I have read I have heard so many other commentaries, so-called nowadays also there are interpreters, but they interpret it in God knows what way. The actual meaning of Bhagavad Gita is lost. It becomes something else. So understand these scriptures, live them. Bhagavad Gita is not for just reading. It has its application, short application. In my life, I have applied, though not completely, but I have seen the change in me as a person. In fact, I think I have forgotten what I was in the past. Seems like some previous birth to me. Too much transformation. So that is what you must try and do. Your mind, I mean, you were in another world earlier. Now you are somewhere else. And people think, Arey, you don't get bored. Yesterday only somebody was asking me, what do you do in your free time? I said, I chant, I read books, I hear. So I don't go out anywhere. I mean, I'm not fond of it. Not that somebody is stopping me. So he's saying, don't you get bored? I said, no, I'm very happy. He was unable to digest it. How I can be happy without seeing cinema, without going to parties. We have lot of fun, like in temple, like Rath Yatra is coming. This lovely prasad, lovely kirtan is there, and devotees are there. We meet each other every Sunday or once or twice a week, and on festivals. It's a lot of fun. And you're so satiated with that that other forms of entertainment, they seem so dry. इसमें तो इतना मजा ही नहीं है, like that. So that practical application one must start, and one must read this importance. Isopnishad is there, nectar of instruction. These are all practical application. If you just read to make a show of your intelligence, just because you can give some lecture and people will admire, oh, they speak so well, it's of no use. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, they are for application. And that will transform your life. Many people, they are not happy with their life. They go to astrologer, somebody go to Vastu guy, this guy, that guy. But they don't know actually how to transform their lives. Your future is based on your own desires. Nobody, God also doesn't interfere with that. This is the system of the world. You actually want to be happy and change your future, then apply Bhagavad Gita. Live like this. Then you will experience that happiness. Then your helicopter will take off. Come to at least Sattva Guna. Follow the regulative principles. Then you see how your state of mind will change. How can we say by just reading book ki Sattva Guna is like this, you should be in Sattva Guna, then you will go to Shuddha Sattva. At each stage, you will experience a different level of happiness. And you will clearly be able to know that when I was enjoying in Rajogun, it was not so pleasing. Like Now I look back and say, oh, I went to this party. No, that was nothing compared to this. In Tamoguna, out of ignorance, I once went here, there. No, this happiness which I'm experiencing now, this is way above that. You will yourself be able to rate it. So, practical application is important. It's not just for reading. Please read this book.
So, ma'am, you were telling that we should always refer to Shastras if we have any doubt, because Shastras give us the, right answer. So that means Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavad and Isopnishad.
Yeah, these scriptures you can refer to. Isopnishad, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Updeshamrit is one. See, the Vedas are very vast, Mataji. They're very vast. One lifetime will not be enough to read them. And you will get so utterly confused because this entire banyan tree is Vedas. There are so many kands at different levels of the tree. Karma kand is there somewhere in the middle. Under that, it is animalistic life. Then you have this upasna kand, this kand, that kand. So many kands are there here, for different purposes. There is knowledge to satisfy all your desires. But what is the ultimate good? We are not talking about relative good here. Ultimate good is chop off this tree. This Lord is saying himself. Chop off this tree of material life with the sword of knowledge and detachment. Knowledge, with the knowledge, what you will do? You will get detached. You should not be affected. All the changes, they should not affect you. Today we have sorrow, fine. Today we have health, fine, it's okay. It's a part of my prarabdha, I'll go through it. Anyway, I have to go from. One thing is for sure, we'll all die. That I can, as an astrologer, tell everybody. Everybody will die. Anybody. Name that person on earth who's rich, famous, rich, beautiful, they will all die. That is the effect of time. I don't even need to prove it to anybody. It's there. We don't accept it and we don't think about it. That is our choice. But the truth will not change. It will remain as it is. So one must try to understand the scriptures from the right source also. Why in the beginning parampara? Because otherwise they will corrupt the knowledge. They will put something, their personal agenda, and tell you. That will not be correct. And I think ISKCON, of all the places I went in my initial years, I found that matlab, I went to some place, I got a little satisfaction, but not complete. All questions were not answered. When I came to ISKCON and I started reading Srila Prabhupada books, he gives you references even from Puranas and Upanishads. I have not read the Puranas and the Upanishads. I have just read what Srila Prabhupada has. He had read. It's like, the mother, bird, she chews the food and puts it into the beak of her chicks. Like that, Srila Prabhupada has made it. Brahma Samhita, you have reference. In the Bhagavad Gita written by Srila Prabhupada, you have references from Shweta Swatara Upanishad, Chandak Upanishad, Bruhad Naradiya Puran. So many Puran. From which Purana, what is written, which is related to this shloka in Bhagavad Gita, he has simplified it so much for us. So I got a good idea by reading Srila Prabhupada books. Actually, they say, Srimad Bhagavatam, you can read or you can follow a Vyakti Bhagavad. Vyakti Bhagavad is a person who is following Srimad Bhagavatam in his life. If you keep in association with the Vyakti Bhagavad, you will understand Bhagavad without reading. So associate with people who are living like this, as per the principles of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Automatically you will understand. By our own speculation, by reading, we will never be convinced totally. Will never. Convinced means now this knowledge is, you have adopted it for practicing in your life. Then you are convinced if you are applying it. If you are not applying it, just reading it, it means you are still not convinced. And the Paramatma in the heart will see your conviction. Ye yathamam prabhadyan. According to that conviction only, he will give you the understanding. If you have strong desire to understand, you will be ready to adopt the life in Bhagavad Gita 100%. Lord will see. He will say, reveal to her the truth 100%. If somebody says, no, I can give only 20%. Lord will say, okay, 20% you tell her what I am. Because Lord is Ananta, unending. So that's how it is, Mataji.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
So thank you all so much. Hare Krishna. We'll end the session here today. See you all tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuba evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.